Ladies and gentlemen, I have some shocking charts and some new shocking information to show you that banks are receiving $1 trillion via backdoors and secret bailouts in the shadows while Americans' living standards are collapsing. We just got news that there's been a new debt limit ceiling, meaning there's going to be no limit whatsoever on the US government debt, and some are estimating it's going to be $4 or $5 trillion. And where is that money going to? Is it going to help Americans make their living standards much better? No, billions of dollars is going to go to war, the banks, and mega corporations. Because people, unlike the mainstream media is telling you, unlike the government is telling you, we are in the middle of a financial crisis, but it's happening in the shadows, and the Federal Reserve is secretly printing money trying to cover it up. But all will be revealed in today's very important update, so let's not waste any time. Let's get straight into the news, the facts, and the data. Okay, first things first is this, everyone. Before I get into these charts that are revealing these backdoor bailouts, we need to talk about this. US credit squeeze triggers rising corporate bankruptcies. So what many people don't know and what they're not really telling you is that corporate bankruptcies are reaching levels we haven't seen since 2010. And this is just the beginning, with more Federal Reserve rate hikes coming, with the economy continuing to deteriorate, with commercial real estate market crash only beginning, it will just get worse. Listen to this. More large US companies are taking shelter in bankruptcy court, a sign of tightening credit squeeze as interest rates rise and financial markets become less hospitable to borrowers. So that's exactly right, everyone. This is something we're talking about in the channel so much right now because it's so important. This financial system, this economy relies on debt. It's been debt that's made these markets boom. It's been debt that's allowed the US government to keep on spending like crazy. But once the debt markets stop, the whole economy and the markets are going to grind to a halt. And we're in the early stages of this happening. 8 companies with more than $500 million in liabilities have filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcies just this month alone, including 5 in just a 24-hour stretch last week. In 2022, the monthly average was just over 3 filings. So you can see the trend is accelerating, everyone. In 2022, there was just 3 filings on average a month, but we're now starting to see 5 in just a 24-hour period. The bankruptcies come after years of quiescent markets and rising valuation, which allowed even financially stressed firms to raise debt and equity capital to stay afloat. Debt defaults had fallen to about 1% in 2021 as central banks pumped money into coronavirus pandemic stressed economy. So what that simply means is nobody was allowed to default. They printed money, gave free money like crazy in 2021 and 2022, but the banks need money and they need money now, and defaults are coming in right, left, front, and center. Now, S&P Global forecasts that the 12-month trailing default rate for speculative grade securities will jump from the current rate of 2.5% to nearly double 4.5% by early 2024. But now these zombie corporations that could raise debt very cheaply in 2021, well, they're having big issues because interest rates have now skyrocketed. Yields on junk bonds have more than doubled from less than 4% in mid-2021, as measured by Bank of America US High Yield Index, an indication of how much more expensive capital has become for less credit-worthy borrowers. The Federal Reserve has warned that lenders could further contract the supply of credit to businesses after recent turmoil in the banking sector. That's exactly right, everyone. These banks were very open to lending money out when the times were good. But now that times are going bad, they're running out of money, they're going to start tightening the screws very tightly on who they lend money to. And look at this chart, everyone. This is alarming. They say some companies have used every trick in the book and now have run out of tricks. So we can see here this chart of large US bankruptcies by month. We can see here there was barely any in 2021, but now this quarter, and especially Q2 in 2023, we can see here the trend is accelerating. Between 2020 and 2022, several private equity backed companies pursued liability management transactions to survive, raising cash through new borrowing and extending maturity. So major US corporations are going bankrupt. That's going to lead to huge losses for the banks that are already in a very tough situation. So this takes me to the next part of the show, the most important part of the show, what's happening in the shadows, how banks are receiving trillions of dollars while the average American is struggling to afford rent, food, and utilities. So this brings me to my first chart here, everyone, the Bank Term Funding Program. So this is assets and liquidity, credit facilities, and loans for the banks at the Federal Reserve. This is billions and billions of dollars being given to the banks every single week. And we can see here, it just hit a new record of $91 billion in just 1 week. So they're telling you The banks are fine, but look at this chart. It is absolutely skyrocketing. Does this look like the banks are fine, receiving $100 billion every week, and this is only going to get higher and higher? But of course, it's not a bailout, everyone. Another very, very alarming chart is a discount window. Borrowing reaches all-time high, and this is higher now than the 2008 financial crisis level. So we can see here, in 2008, it reached around 100 billion. Then we can see here, it reached around 45 to 60 billion in 2020, and it is absolutely catapulted. So this is now worse than 2008. It's worse than 2020, but they're trying to tell you there's no financial crisis. People, again, we are in the middle of a financial crisis. We are in the middle of a massive financial crisis. But what they've been able to do is fool the American public. Now, not you, my viewers, you are very educated. You know how the financial system works. You know how the central bankers work. But the average American has no idea that this is happening. So if you can, please share this with your family and share it with your friends to show them what's really going on. And I'll break it down in very, very simple terms because I want to wake the masses so the masses know what's going on. Because these banks, these central bankers, these governments, they put in all this complicated language, all this jargon, so you do not understand what's really happening. What's simply happening is the Federal Reserve has created these new facilities with these fancy names, but really what it is these bankers have taken huge speculative bets, huge speculative investments. They've lost hundreds of billions of dollars. Some of these assets have dropped 50% in value. Now, if me and you made a bad investment, guess what? We will go bankrupt. Nobody there to save us, or even small businesses. But these bankers now can take on the biggest speculative investments they want. And if things go bad, they can go to the Federal Reserve and sell them these assets that they gambled on at whatever price they paid for it. People, this is completely sickening. We are being robbed right, left, front, and center. The US government has announced a new debt deal. They're going to be taking on $4 trillion in debt. And guess what? The people are only going to get the scraps. In the shadows, the banks are going to receive trillions. The US industrial military complex is going to receive trillions. Billions are going to go to support other countries while our homeless, our veterans are struggling more than ever. And again, if you think this is all just money printed out of thin air, it's free money, we're not going to have to pay for it. No, you're going to pay for it through higher inflation, and you better believe taxes are going to go up through the roof. And really, what's really going to make taxes go through the roof is when the US enters a global conflict, we could get to tax rates like what we saw after World War II, of the highest tax rate being 90%. So everyone, don't be fooled, don't be deceived. We are in the middle of a financial crisis. Banks are looting the American people, and you need to wake up. But everyone, what do you think about this? Let me know down below. Now, for my loyal viewers and subscribers still watching, you're awesome. If you want to check out my free newsletter, click the link in the description below to get access to all my research and notes. Thanks for watching. You're awesome. I'll see you all in the next video.